problem.
Art is a way to either let loose with your emotions or to get in touch with your own emotions by interpreting someone else's vision through the lens of your own experiences.
That was actually really good. Big up you.
Yeah. One would think, maybe I kind of talk for a living, Sometimes a few smart things come out every now and then.
Every
off
now
the
and
cusp.
then.
No, that was not planned, by the way. That was literally off the cusp, right? That was full used car salesman mode. I was just fishing for a thing.
But no, I love that.
It's a certain thing.
Exactly. And the reason it's pertinent because we have joining us in studio a visual artist who is having an exhibition this week, and it's going to be amazing. We're actually going to stop by and check it out. And a couple other accomplishments that have happened along the way. So please welcome to the Breakthrough Table, visual artist Saegel Bascombe. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, I'm doing really well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I got the pronunciation of the name right.
Saegel.
Great, lovely. So before we get into the exhibition, I want to get into you as a visual artist first. First of all, how did you get started into visual art? And what would you describe your style as?
Okay, so how did I get started? I will say definitely that, God really, I guess, imparted this creative gift into me that, really grateful for that. Because since I was maybe around 3, because I remember in preschool really being into art. And you might say, oh, how you remember preschool? I actually got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was in preschool. So my brain remembers a whole set of memories from that time. And I remember being in the hospital and wanting paper and colored books and stuff to get into it. And I used to do this rainbow heart too, and my preschool teachers would tell everybody to come and see and for me to teach them how to do the rainbow heart and all of these things. And so my love for it continued into primary school. I started to do art classes with artists by the name of Tessa Alexander when I was in Standard 4, and that continued until I was in about Form 3, Form 2 in high school. And then I had an amazing art teacher in high school, Lisa Hutchinson, and she kind of nurtured the, artistic ability some more. And I would say my art style really developed a lot when I was in Form 3. So prior to that, it was a lot of experimentation and kind of finding myself, figuring out what I like, and just testing the waters of various mediums and stuff like that. And then when I was in Form 3, Ms. Hutchinson gave us this exercise, and we had to do various things, like a piece on balance, a piece on pattern, a piece on cubism, and all of these various things. And when I did the pattern piece, I was like, oh my goodness, I love this, right? Okay. So when it came time to do the SBs, now my pieces were very pattern-based, and I explored different things like lost and found line, color, balance. I love balance, and that grew. And then when I went to university, I started to look at shallow depth and something I used to call honest illusion. Okay. And when I was post-university, I went into things further study into shallow depth, colors and objects, instead of just being applied to objects, and blurring the lines between positive and negative space. And now I'm kind of on this journey of finding my way back in order to move forward. And I'm kind of looking at my artwork throughout the years to see what I want to revisit and the parts of me that I want to revisit as well in order to kind of, move forward. Okay.
Well, it's interesting you say you kind of found yourself or started to find yourself in Form 3, because most mortals, we find ourselves when we go to tertiary education. And then there are those like me that don't really find themselves once they hit 32 or something, right? But part of what we have here that was sent to us, you're not just necessarily a visual artist extraordinaire. You also are very good, at least up to your education level, in math. So you're not necessarily just a creative brain. You also have some capacity for logic and numbers as well.
Oh yes. So I did a lot of science in high school, and I loved physics. And I guess, you know, the love of physics and math kind of plays into maybe why I like patterns so much and balance. And I was talking to a bunch of people, right? But basically what I tend to kind of say is that if you kind of think about it, art is math, right? Because let's say red is 5 and blue is 2 and purple is 7, right? Red plus blue equals purple. Right. And yeah, but like a lot more, right. You know,
so
detail into that way.
It's almost like if the same parts of your brain that understands math in a way, that's the lens by which you also kind of see art as well, given your what you like about it and how you just explained it, that it kind of is describing an understanding of it.
Right, so I think that, okay, in a way, each color has like its own personality, right? And it's always that same personality. And I feel like numbers and equations and stuff like that, you could put certain colors together to get various results in a very mathematical way, because if you put those same 2 colors together again, you will get that same result, you know? Right. Even if you put them next to each other, and what kind of vibrations does that give off, you know what I mean? So yeah, and also in terms of my approach to art, I think I have a very scientific approach, because I tend to have a question in my mind, and I kind of use art to solve that question, or art to kind of like figure out the answer to that question. So like most of the times, I don't know the answer before I'm going into it, you know?
Do you think that sort of scientific approach translates to not just answering the question, but how the process by which by which the art?
Definitely. Well, for one, I tend to paint very quickly, and the reason for painting quickly is because I'm excited to get to the next step. Yeah. So it's like when you do, so like say you do the first step, when you do the second step now, and you get that result, that answer, your mind is kind of anxious to get to like, okay, what's the next answer? But a painting doesn't really work like that. You have to finish the whole entire, that second step to be able to go to the third step or the third layer, and then kind of just seeing what happens as each layer kind of like progresses. And why I said at first that I think that God really, you know, gave me the creativity is because all of my paintings, I would say all of my art pieces, drawings, whatever, textile, I never know what the final product is going to look like, yeah? So when I finish the piece, a lot of the time it's like, I didn't make the piece, so I'm looking at my own pieces as though I'm the viewer, I'm the audience. So it's like, and then someone told me that in my last show, someone told me that I even talk about my work as though I didn't create it, because I'll be like, oh, in this painting, this is here, instead of saying, oh, in my painting, I try to do I describe it as though I'm looking at it from like a third person kind of perspective. And it's interesting because that's actually true. I do kind of shocked and surprised by the pieces themselves when they're completed.
Sorry, I just need to point out, I don't think I've ever heard any artist in any medium give one explanation of what you just gave, much less 2, right? Which speaks to just a very unique process and eye that I'm kind of like half blown away, because I'm almost like there's something here that's very unique and very different and very special and allows for such a different perspective. And yet, like, I don't even know how to express it. And I'm just like, oh, that's just cool.
Well, speaking, but as you mentioned that you're not always sure you're not always clearly sure, but do you have an idea of what you might want it to look like from the very, very beginning?
No, it's more like I start off with the question. I start off with like a broad, general, okay, I'm gonna start with this line here, or like this object here, and then it kind of goes from there.
Okay.